Hello, my narcissistic abuse family. Today is Valentine's Day. Probably not going to post this till tomorrow, but I'm being festive. I did new eyeshadow. That's a big deal. I went pink because I always stick to brown. Anyway, the topic I'm talking about today is why we tend to be loners. I'm confident in saying that we don't often connect to people. People don't really know us. It's ironic because most victims of narcissistic abuse, some of the nicest, kindest people I know I've ever met, and we start out being very vulnerable, very receptive, and after enduring years of narcissistic abuse, we tend to become reclusive, isolated. There's several reasons for why this happens. A lot of them are a direct result of the narcissistic abuse that we endured. Some of it is kind of a reciprocal cause. So we tend to be isolated from people. People don't get close to us for several reasons. First, I will start by saying that when we are narcissistically abused, particularly by our parents, they isolate us. This is an tried and true narcissistic tactic. They love to isolate us because it gives them free rein. If there's other people surrounding us, they just get in their way because narcissists thrive off control. So by isolating us, they're able to control us better. We don't have anyone on our side advocating for us, saying, you don't deserve that garbage, you deserve better. And our narcissistic parents do this because everything's a sham. They don't want anyone to get close to you, to get close to the dysfunctional unit, because they don't want to be seen for what they are. They don't want to be found out. So that right off the bat is just, we're constantly being isolated. Our wicked parents are sabotaging our relationships, our friendships. They don't want anyone to be close to us. They don't want us to be close to anyone. The other part of that is that narcissists are so miserable. I always say this, misery loves company. And because they can't forge genuine, authentic, meaningful relationships with people, they don't want you to either. Remember, narcissistic parents believe, like legit believe this, that their children don't deserve any better than what they have. They feel entitled. They feel like as their children, we should be subordinate. Therefore, we should have less perks than they do, essentially, in life. It's gross because if you're a parent, you know that you just want the best for your kids. You want better for your kids than you want for yourself. But if we're dealing with narcissistic parents here, polar opposite. All they care about is themselves and they feel entitled. And so that's why they will sabotage all of your relationships, romantic, friendships, anything, because they don't want you to be close to anyone. They want to isolate you so that they can abuse you accordingly. They will not have anyone interfering in their dastardly scheme. So that's one of the main components. Another reason that we are often isolated and don't get close to people is because obviously the impact of this betrayal. So you come into the world innocent, perfect, beautiful little individual, and your parents are supposed to be, allegedly, the ones that love you, nurture you, and support you. When they're narcissists, they're doing everything opposite, and they're chipping away at our trust, even though we don't realize this, of course, because we're children at the time, but you grow up like the whole ground has been ripped out from underneath you. You can't even trust your parents. How are you going to trust anyone else in the world? Our childhood development is crucial for these reasons, that it establishes the foundation for our other relationships, how we interact with people throughout life. So that's a great reason. Another reason is because we don't feel worthy, because we have been steadily degraded, programmed with these toxic beliefs that we don't deserve to be in a loving relationship, that we have anything to offer. We are consistently told that we are inherently bad, that we're a burden, that we just don't deserve to be close to anyone. So that is a result of narcissistic abuse programming. One of the things I was really reflecting on this myself, I was like, you know what? Like, I've had people come in and out of my life that are, alleged friends, and they don't know the half of it. And this is such a big part of it. Growing up in a narcissistic home, everything is a lie, everything is a sham. And we are taught to repress our feelings. Anything that goes against the narrative that these awful people are putting out there, if we're unhappy or we actually have emotions of our own, we are taught that we're not, that's just not allowed. It's just not okay. So we have to put everything in. We're taught to hide everything. That's one of the big reasons why people just don't, like, we've done such a good job at hiding this dysfunction and this abuse that people don't see it. People don't know what we have gone through. And that's why I value this community so much, is because we get it. Like, we've been there, man. Like, we've been on the dark side of this. And anyone that comes into your life that is your friend or whatever, if they don't know the heart of what you've experienced, that's a huge part of your life. It's a garbage part of your life, obviously, but that has a lot to do with why we are the way we are, who we are. There's beneficial elements to it in terms of the way that we process it. For example, I love and appreciate my husband and our children on a whole nother level that I never would without all of these insights into my toxic upbringing. But, so, for example, someone that was in my life claiming to be so close to me, when this stuff starts to come out about narcissistic abuse, you realize who's your friend and who's not, because your true friends, people that love you and authentically care about you, will support you and care about you and listen to you and acknowledge your pain and what you've gone through. And a lot of people just can't get it through their head. They can't wrap their heads around it because it hasn't affected them. So if that's the case, obviously we're not going to be close to these types of people. People just don't know what we have undergone. And anyone that becomes a part of your life that genuinely loves you and cares about you will be interested in your pain, what hurts you, your upbringing, all of that, because that's a huge part of why we are the way we are and what makes us unique. So it's absolutely normal to not make connections with people following a toxic, narcissistic upbringing. We've been trained to distance ourselves from people, our narcissistic parents did this, they sabotaged our relationships, but they also programmed us to keep our distance from people. They've sabotaged our relationships. So that's another reason during our critical childhood years, when you're taught how to have healthy relationships with others, to trust others, we were going through it. So we didn't have that opportunity, that solid bedrock for the rest of our lives for healthy relationships going forward. The other part, we're told we're not worthy, so you feel like you have nothing to offer, so why would you get close to anyone? And the fact that we have had to hide this for so long, it's such a major component to why we're always distant from people. So, all right, you guys, I love you all. Happy Valentine's Day. We're bumped, we're bruised, but more than anything, we are blessed because we're coming through this horrible abuse. We're learning about ourselves. We're better people because of it. So I love you all. I'll be back soon.